everyone, Cleo here, and I'm here with my trusty reading card because I'm here to give you guys an update about what is on my cart since the 1st of April. Now I'll already give a disclaimer that actually on the 1st of April I did go to Waterstones, and so this card currently only holds what was left before my Waterstones trip, but in the course of that day quite some books were added to it. But yeah, cart was looking nice and empty at that point in time. Now I will say that there was one book that I was counting for my TBR at that point in time that isn't physically on there, because every book that I've purchased as an ebook in 2023 I have also counted for my TBR, and one of them I did not finish before the 1st of April. So let's start with some statistics. So on the 1st of April, or basically at midnight, on the transition from the March 31st until April 1st, I had 16 books left on my TBR, which had an average age of 177 days on that TBR, which that number of course has gone down because I've been buying a few books, which means that the average age goes down. So that's the benefit of buying books for this particular graph. And then the total sum of pages at that point in time was only a nice 6,283 pages. So nice management of the TBR at that point in time. As I've said, a lot of new things were added, but that's fine. As long as I can prioritize the older stuff, it's fine. And so the earliest books on here are still some of those July 2nd books, so the books that I bought when I first, got out of my, when I first completed Project Zero TBR. So let's get started. Let's actually start with the ebook so that I don't forget it. The ebook that at that point in time was still counting was Kushiel's Chosen by Jacqueline Carey, so the second book in the Kushiel series, the second book in the first trilogy, which I think is called the Fedra trilogy. So I did finish it in the meantime, so that is actually off of my TBR, but I had put it on my March TBR, but I just wasn't able to complete it anymore, so it was still counting for that TBR. So in terms of the organization of the physical cart, I actually changed it a little bit for this video because typically the top shelf is actually the empty one, and these books were on this shelf and these books were on the bottom shelf, but because of the way that I'm angling my camera, you cannot see the bottom shelf, so I thought, like, let's just reorganize them so that you guys can actually see some books while I'm filming this. But so, top shelf at the moment is all of the fantasy, middle shelf is all of the other stuff. The organization kind of changes over time depending on how much is on there. I'll probably change it again when I put the new books on there because I won't have enough space on the fantasy shelf, probably, although I'm not sure. I don't actually think I bought fantasy, so maybe I can actually keep it like that, have just one shelf fantasy. I'll just have to see when I'm organizing how it works out. Previously I've split them, for example, with like standalone and first books in a series on one shelf and then like continuations on another shelf, but for the moment we are good here. So I have two comics here at the top left, and so that is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Buffy the Vampire Slayer Chosen One. So this one is continuing over. It is probably gonna be the one that I will keep around for more than the 1 year that I'm allowing all of these books to be on my cart, because I've read half of it, but according to the reading order for the Buffy comics, I cannot continue until I've read more of the Buffy comics, and I don't personally have at this moment in time any of the other ones, so it might not get around to those in time to finish this one before somewhere in August, when I should normally, according to statistics, finish this. Then the second one is on there is Saga Volume 9, right? We're on, is this 9? No, 10. Volume 10. I have kind of been keeping myself from this one. I think this will be a nice short one to have around for example, a 48-hour round of Becca's Bookopoly, if she's gonna do one this year, because, you know, it's short, I will get through it quickly, but let's be honest, I have had to be on a break from Saga for a while, so I'm like, okay, once I will read this, I will want to be like, I will want to continue on right away, and you know, the next volume isn't announced yet, so I might as well make use of the fact that I'm currently not dying to start this one, to just keep it around for a more convenient time. Next up, we have The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson. So if you know me, then you know that I have been struggling with Brandon Sanderson a little bit over the last year and a half maybe, that quite a few of the things that I've been reading by him just haven't really been like up to par with my expectations for his works, because like I absolutely love the Mistborn trilogy, I absolutely love Stormlight Archive, and I really enjoyed the first two books in the Skyward trilogy, Skyward series, it's not a trilogy. So when I went into Mistborn Era 2, that's where things started to go wrong. Then I also didn't have a great time with Cytonic or the novella, so I'm not really eager, like I'm not really dying to get started on The Lost Metal, but yeah, before November I think, 2023, this one will get read. So when I originally got this, like the excitement for it had kind of dwindled down. I have since read the first one of the secret novels by Brandon Sanderson and I quite enjoyed that one. I have opened the file for the second one, which came out on April 1st, so will not be included in this video, and the title didn't make me want to pick it up, so we'll see. Yeah, at the moment just not super excited about this one, sadly. Then we have Destiny of... just slapped myself in the face with that one. Destiny of the Dead by Cal Kate. This is the sequel to Fate of the Fallen. This is a series called Shroud of the Prophecy, in which we have a chosen one who basically dies right at the beginning. So what happens when your chosen one is no longer there? Are we then all just doomed to failure, or can somebody else pick up the slack, so to speak, and continue on with fulfilling the prophecy? I have read another series by Cal Kate, which I really enjoy, and that also has new works in it, and so I am hoping in the second half of this year to kind of catch up to Cal Kate's works and finish Destiny of the Dead, as well as the other books that she has come out with last year. Should also mention that this is a lovely gift from a subscriber of mine, so thank you Tufty again for this gift. It is getting read, I think August is when I penciled it in. Next up is another start to a series that I really want to get started on, but on the other hand I'm also like, let's not start too many series, because I'm starting so many series this year already, and that is The Black Coast by Mike Brooks. I still don't know too much about it anymore, because I pick up books because the premise sound interesting to me, but then I forget all of their premises. But so it has something to do with dragons, and there is like interesting cultural work being done, I think also in terms of queer normativity potentially. And yeah, I've just heard lovely things about this one, and so I want to give this one a go. I was somewhat tempted to put this one on my TBR this month because of the fact that it has clouds on the cover, which is a prompt for one of for the Magical Readathon, but this is a humongous book and I found a very short one with clouds on the cover that will be much more manageable in combination with some of the other books on my TBR this month. Then what is probably my shortest fantasy at this point in time is Those Above by Daniel Polanski, first book in a fantasy duology in which we're looking at a sort of like rivalry between, you know, the ones on top, the one at the bottom, and I think there is a rebellion that has been heavily quashed down, and so now a new chance is arising. I've read another novella by Daniel Polanski and I absolutely love that one, so I'm hoping that this one will also be right up my alley. I will be reading this. I did put this one on my TBR for this month because it fits a Magical Readathon prompt, so here's hoping that I will get around to it. Then we have another first in a series, The Black-Tongued Thief by Christopher Buehlman. This one is a thief who basically is in debt to sort of like the academy that trained him to be a thief, so he kind of needs to, you know, prove his worth, and you know, he basically stumbles upon somebody who might be the perfect targets, I think. It's been a while since I read the synopsis. Definitely that first section is correct. I don't necessarily know about the second part that I've said, but yeah, I've heard good things about this one. It's just another one of those first in a series, and I've been starting so many that I'm like, eh. But yeah, some of these definitely are due to be read in the next quarter because, for example, The Black-Tongued Thief is one of those books that I bought on the 2nd of July, so before the 2nd of July this one needs to be read. Then we have an Illumicrate book that I still need to get around to. This is The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew. This is a book that had deaf representation, I think, or blind representation. Deaf. Okay, so it is a book about, like, it kind of seems like dark academia with a protagonist who is deaf, and it also had, like, I've forgotten everything about this book. Yeah, it does have parallel worlds, so I did not just make that up. It has parallel worlds, it has deaf representation, which is basically the reason why I wanted this book. But it is YA, so that's kind of the reason why I'm like hesitant to pick it up, but I am definitely looking forward to the time when I will finally find a spot for it in my TBR, because I do want to see like what I will think of this one, whether this one works for me or not, because it's a little bit one that I kind of went on a limb with in terms of will this be for me or not. And then we have The City of Last Chances by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And let's be fair, this is a cover by, I absolutely adore this cover, but based on the like premise, the premise is so vague to me that like all I know is that it looks like a dark, gloomy, depressing world to live in. But that's about all that I can make up. I don't know whether this is a rebellion story, for example, or you know, a dark adventure story, discovering, like, because there's a mention of some sort of a dark wood or something, a dark grove of trees. Whether it's an exploration of that, a sort of quest through that, or I really don't know with this one. But yeah, I absolutely love the cover. I know that a lot of people love Adrian Tchaikovsky's work, and I have never tried it, so I'm going to try with this one. And then the final one on the fantasy shelf is Kaikei by Vaishnavi Patel. This is also one that I got really, like, it's also one of the older ones, also in July. I was gifted this one by Larissa, so thank you very much, Larissa, for the gift. And this one has been on a TBR already, but I didn't get around to it, so I'm hoping to fit it into the next 3 months, because somewhere in July this one needs to have been read, so I'm hoping to, so I should be getting around to this one soon. This is a retelling of the Ramayana, which I personally don't know, so cannot really tell you too much about that, but I think we're looking at this sort of like princess who explores forbidden magic in order to try and save her kingdom. And yeah, I've heard really, really good things about it, and so I'm very much looking forward to it. Alright, moving down to the second shelf. So second shelf, as I said, has like my non-speculative stuff on there, mainly fiction, but there's also still one fiction on there, is non-fiction on there. Though maybe two are non-fiction, actually. Alright, first one is People Person by Candice Carty-Williams. So Candice Carty-Williams is the author of Queenie, which I absolutely adored, and so I wanted to definitely give her second adult work a try. And so People Person is about a family of like stepbrothers and sisters, and so it's all about that family bond and how family runs, like, how do you say it? Thicker than blood, deeper than blood. You know, you don't need to have blood relations in order for a close-knit family relationship to be constructed. So don't know more about this premise, but I'm hoping that I'm gonna love this one the way that I loved Queenie. Then we have something that I guess actually belonged on the speculative shelf to some extent, and it is The Day the Sun Died by Jan Yenko. This is a book in which, in a town in China, one day people just don't go to sleep anymore and they just continue on working. And so I'm guessing it's using that plot to talk about deeper things concerning, you know, our global economy and capitalism, communism, whatever, all those things. So it actually belongs on speculative, I guess, but you know, it's more of a literary fiction, I guess, so that's why I'm putting it here. Then is that book that actually I think belongs on the non-fiction side of things as well, and that is Upstream by Mary Oliver. This is a collection of essays featuring nature writing. I've heard really good things about it, and I really have enjoyed some other works that were about, and I have enjoyed some other non-fiction nature writing or travel writing, and so I'm hoping that I'm going to enjoy this one as well. And these last two were actually gifted to me by Hans over from the Discord of Jolene's like Christmas Secret Santa. So thank you very much for these ones. They will definitely also be read. Last fiction work on here is Strangers I Know by Claudia Durastanti. Claudia Durastanti is an Italian-American author, and this is kind of autobiographical because it looks at, the author is the child of deaf parents, and so this talks about that dynamic of having parents with a disability like that, but not sharing that disability yourself. I've forgotten much about the specifics of the plot aside from that, but it immediately intrigued me. You know, disability representation immediately intrigues me, and so I read this synopsis and I was like, I want to read this one. And so I had kind of hoped to put it, I had already acquired it because I was gonna try and do the buzzword-a-thon, but in the end I didn't end up doing it. So for one of those prompts, I think for March, this one would have been read otherwise. So, but I don't mind the fact that I have it now on my shelves. I definitely want to buy. I definitely want to be reading it, so this will just push it earlier on to my TBR. And then the final book on there, and another one that I need to finish before the 2nd of July, is The Silk Roads by Peter Frankopan. And I have since bought another Peter Frankopan, so I definitely want to read this one and hopefully love this one. But so this is a non-fiction all about the Silk Roads and kind of looking at their importance in history and, you know, rewriting history with the Silk Roads at its center, basically. So I am very intrigued and interested in starting this one. I did actually start it. I read the introduction at one point in time, but then I just wasn't in the mood for any non-fiction, or at least not for like physically reading one, so I opted to prioritize one that I had on audio, but so this one is definitely getting read in the next 3 months. But so yeah, that is a TBR, that is all that is on my card at that point in time. As indicated earlier, there is actually a pile of books that is staring at me now, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think. Yeah, 6 extra books that need to make their way onto this little cart, and actually a 7th one is on the way. So yeah, no, the 7th one is over there, and 8th one is on the way. Okay, so that's already giving you an indication of how this TBR is going to be fattening up, but hopefully I'll get it evened out in the next 3 months so that the next update will just have the same amount of books. Here's hoping. But so, hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys for the next one. Bye!